What is up, guys? LameDev here, back with another YouTube video. And as promised, this video is going to be on if statements and how to fix this problem that we were encountering in the last video. So yeah, let's get into the if statements. So first we're just going to teach everyone a bit about if statements, and then we will actually get into the problem solving of the issue we had here. So first of all, what is an if statement? An if statement is basically where we would compare two values, or it's like a condition. So say if we had a variable called x is equal to 2, and we had another variable called y is equal to 4. So we would write an if statement like if, and then, oops, I'm used to Java, if x is greater than, so we use signs like greater than, less than or equal to, and all that. So let's say if x is greater than 4, so this basically checks if this condition is true. But instead, let's actually use the variable named y. So this is the condition. Is x greater than y? It's going to return a Boolean value, true or false, but it's going to either be true or it's going to be either false. So let's see here. X is equal to 2 and y is equal to 4. In this case, x is not greater than 2. But if x was greater than 2, we could do something. So let's print if x was greater than 2, we could say x is greater than 4. Else, so if that's not true, which in case it's not true because x is not greater than 4, we would just print x is not greater than 4. So if we actually run this now, we would get x is not greater than 4. It's pretty simple. But let's say we have conditions like we could use input statements like int. Here, let's make a question. Someone can ask a question, or they can enter a number. Yeah, let's enter a number. So num is equal to int, and then input, enter a number. Enter number 1, yeah. And then basically do the same thing. We're gonna have a second number, and it'll be enter number 2. So we could compare. The user in this case is going to be entering two numbers, and we can compare which number is greater, or if the numbers are equal to each other and whatnot. So we could use an if statement for that. So if num1 is basically greater than num2, we could print we can print whatever they entered in here. Else if num2 is greater than, or we could say if num is less than num2, then in this case we could just do print num2. It's that simple. So if we were to actually run this code, we were to put 10 and 11. In this case, since our first number is smaller and our second number is larger, that means this part of the code is going to be executed because this part is now false. So if we run that, click, we're going to get number 2, and number 2 is what we entered. So we could also use letters. So we could say if A is greater than B, print A is greater than B. And else, if that's not true, we could just do print. Else basically means that the first condition is false. You'd use else ifs if else if or elifs if you have like multiple statements. Last one I could have used an else, but I chose to use an elif just so you could see what it was. So you could say here b is greater than, excuse my typing, a. And the reason, I don't know if you guys know this, but in Python or in any language that I know of so far, letters basically, so say B is going to be greater than A, or Z, that's going to be greater than A, or C, any of those letters that come after A, it's going to be greater than that letter. So if we were to actually put B here, any letter that comes after B is actually greater than that letter. So I could put like C here, and it'll actually, we could put C, and then we could replace that with B. B is greater than C. Run that. There you go. C is greater than B. So that's how letter comparison would work. So you could use if statements in many cases. You could also use them in arithmetic equations and whatnot. Okay, so the next part I'm going to show you is AND statements, OR statements, and the NOT operator in Python for if statements. So let's create some variables. X equals 5, y equals 10, c is equal to 11. So if x is greater than 5 and or, we'll use an OR statement, or x is greater than 4, print hello. Oops, I didn't write that. So what's this going to do here? So the OR statement is basically going to check what both of these conditions. So there's this condition here, if x is greater than 5, and in this case x is not greater than 5, because x is actually equal to 5, therefore this is false. So then it's going to move on over here. So that's what the OR is for. One of the two conditions has to be true. It's not both of them, it's just one. Or both. Both could be true. But it really just looks for one. Then for here it's going to check, is x greater than 4? In this case, x is greater than 4 because x is equal to 5 here. We said that in the variable. So if we were to print this, it would say hello. Now with AND statements, we could say if x is greater than 4 and x, now let's use a different variable, and y is less than c. So what this is going to do is we're going to check if x is greater than 4, which in this case it is because x is equal to 5, so this is true, and this also has to be true. So you can think of it like that. AND means both have to be true. OR means either or have to be true. Or both could be true. It doesn't matter. So, and this also has to be true. So let's look at this condition. Y is less than z. Well, what is y? Y is equal to 10, and z is equal to 11. So, in this case, this is also true, and this is true. So since these both conditions evaluate to true, our output will be high. It's that simple. We could also have statements where we could write a question, or let's ask for a number, and then actually num equals int input, and then we're going to receive the num, and then we're going to say if num is not equal to 5, print num. Else if num is equal to 5, print 5. Or you can use a formatted string. Oops. Num is equal to 5. So what does this do? Well, we actually went over two things here that I have not taught you yet. This is the not equal to sign. This exclamation mark means it's not equal to. It's basically checking if it's not equal to this. So if the number the user enters is not equal to 5, so if it's 4, it's not equal to 5, then you're going to print that number. So 4 would be printed out. But else if the number is equal to 5, or yeah, I could have just said an else. Could change that. Else we could just print num is equal to 5, because that would also answer the condition. I'll show you both ways. So let's actually first show you this way. So it would print the number. So let's first show you the way. This part would be, let's first show you what's getting executed here. So if it's not equal to 5, we're going to print the number. So we're going to take an input, 7, let's just say. So 7 is going to be outputted. That's because it's not equal to 5. So that's what this part does. But let's say if it's equal to 5. So the way you check in Python if something is equal to, and that's if we're checking, we use a double equal sign. When we assign something, that's just a single equal sign. So we could just say equal equal. So else if num is equal to 5, print num is equal to 5. So we're basically going to say 5 is equal to 5 because that's the number is equal to each other. We're checking if 5 is equal to 5, or the number they entered is equal to 5. So if we say 5, it's going to say 5 is equal to 5. But there's a much faster and more efficient way to do this. Since the previous statement up here is checking if it's not equal to 5, this is not needed. This is very irrelevant. We could actually, because programmers are lazy, we don't need to do this then. We could make this an else. Oops. We can make this an else. And then just print 5 is equal to 5. Because we know that this is being checked first. And if that's not true, then it has to be equal to 5. Because we're previously checking if it's not equal to 5. But if it's not equal to 5, it has to be equal to 5. You could replay that part of the video because I know that sounds confusing. Basically what I'm trying to say is this is not equal to 5. But the only possible way for this to be executed is if it's equal to 5. So if I entered 5, this part here would be executed. So I want you guys to try to do a challenge, and that was to fix this part of our code. So previously, in our previous video, we had an apple that was set at $5, an orange that was set at $3.99, hamburger that was set at $4.50, and we had an account funds of $100. So we asked the user to input how many oranges, apples, and hamburgers they bought. Then we calculated how much it was spent on, and then we output their remaining funds. Alright guys, so I have a challenge for you. In the previous video, we had a problem with this program where if we entered 100 oranges or apples, 100 oranges, and 100 hamburgers, remember these are all our set prices, we just enter how much we're buying, and this is how much money we have, it would return the amount of funds we have. Oops, I did not put print. That is my fault. Okay, here, now you can see it. 100, 100, 100. This was our problem. We have negative funds, and that's not possible. We don't want that to be an option. So what I want you guys to do is to try and figure out how we could implement an if statement in this problem to fix that. Basically, you're going to check if they have enough funds, and then print out the remaining funds. And if they don't have enough funds, print out you don't have enough funds, or make a custom message. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, so the way I would approach this then with the if statement would be to use if remaining funds is greater than or equal to 0, because there's a possibility we have no funds left exactly. Then we could say print remaining funds. Else, if it's lower than, because that's the only other possibility, we would do print sorry, you don't have enough funds. So now if we run this, we say 100 and 100 and 100, it's going to output, sorry, you don't have enough funds. But now if we say 10, oops, I put a double enter. If I say 10, 5, so now if we say 10, 5, and 1 or something that's actually affordable for our account funds, it's just going to print out the amount of money we have left. And yeah, that's it for the if statements in Python for today's video. The next video is going to be covering for loops, while loops, and yeah, that's basically it for the next video. I hope to see you guys again, and yeah, bye.